and welcome to Curation Conversations. Myself, Fern Potter, and I'm joined today by the SVP of Digital at InterMedia Group, David Nyurenberg. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, Fern. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. We are going to have the pleasure of your expertise in CTV today, which I'm really excited for because the growth has been exponential. We were chatting about it a little bit before. It's really varied in every single market as well. So just being able to learn from your experience based on your current role, but also what you've done previously, I think is going to be so valuable to anybody that's listening in today. So before we dive into the topic of CTV, I want to hear a bit about you because you have had such an incredible career to date. And I wondered what got you to this point.
Yeah. It's definitely been a very diverse career. So I started out on the publisher side at a mobile gaming publisher called Gameloft. And I was part of the team that rolled out their initial programmatic offering. So that was really the first time I got my toes wet in the programmatic space, so to speak. It was nice to do it at a legitimate quality premium publisher with some great content. After that, I bounced around at a couple ad tech companies on the managed service side. And that's where I built up my trading chops and my hands-on keyboard knowledge and really got to dive deep into the media buying space itself, working with clients and all the fun that entails. After that, I went to Dentsu, so to get some holding company experience as well, because everyone needs that on their resume in this industry, right? Very, very important. I could only tolerate it for 2 years, though, because of the politics. So that was enough for me.
Yeah.
And after that, I left to found my own data engineering consultancy when I saw an opportunity in 2019 for brands needing more advanced data analytics products and dashboards and centralizing their marketing data in one spot, right? So we specialized in building data warehouses for companies and building dashboards on top of those data warehouses, really setting them up with deep analytics suites. After that, so I did that for 4 years. And after that, I then pivoted and took a job in the CTV space at Rain, the growth agency. And that's where I really dived deep into the world of CTV. I really recognized that programmatic was moving into CTV. Most of the spend was moving in that direction. And I thought it was very important, at least for my own growth and knowledge, to really become an expert in that space because I saw that as the future priority channel in programmatic. So I've been in the CTV space since then. So it's been 5 years. Last year, I left Rain to take an SVP role at a legacy linear agency called InterMedia. They're 50 years old, and they've tasked me and trusted me with building out their digital and CTV department. So that's been a challenge, but an exciting challenge nonetheless.
I was going to say, so you've worked all aspects of the ecosystem, deep dive into CTV, which I completely agree, especially, you were doing that, as you said, like 5 years ago, but just most recently, there's been so much noise and so much growth around programmatic TV, fast apps, just that accessibility of being able to find audiences and access programming programmatically across the ecosystem. But talking about your current challenge, as you said, like InterMedia is more of a legacy TV media buying. What is your role and kind of how do you see that playing out by bridging the gap between linear and CTV? Because I guess like so many people are experiencing that challenge now.
Yeah. So by nature of the agency, most of our clients are deep in the linear space with us, right? But they recognize the need to pivot and transition to CTV just because linear audiences and the linear channel itself is slowly but surely going the way of the dodo. I think it's a little overblown how fast we like to talk it's going the way of the dodo. I think there's still more years than we'd like to admit left in it. But still, many of these brands recognize the need to start testing and trying to figure out CTV because that is the future. The challenge, though, is that, and the majority of the brands that we work with are all performance brands, right? So they all count on us to drive high value business outcomes. So their TV needs to perform. Performance linear TV has been a tried and true art and practice that has been well established for 30, 40 years at this point, with phone numbers in the creative URL links, promo codes, all that stuff. But like the QR code itself is not necessarily a new invention. The idea of putting a direct action into a TV creative has been around for 30, 40 years at this point. So many of these brands need to figure out CTV, and really the challenges for them are CTV is a lot more expensive than linear. Many people don't realize that. Yeah. And the other piece is we as an industry, especially in the digital space, love to talk about how hard it is to measure linear and how much easier it is to measure digital channels. But the reality is measuring linear has also been an established science now for many, many years, especially performance linear. Like we're able to tie back outcomes down to the show level because you're able to buy at a show level on linear, and you're able to trace traffic that comes from your airings in those shows on your site and purchases as well. Whereas in CTV, the fragmented nature of the channel, the disparate nature of the signals coming through for measurement and targeting make it a much more harder and challenging channel to prove out and scale, honestly.
Yeah. So would you say, I mean, I think you made such a good point about the established way that we model and buy in linear has been, you know, even if it was an exact science because of the fact it's samples or it's set-top boxes, etc., that the opportunity to make it accountable and actually have a historic amount of data to be able to then model forwards on is something that gives you confidence as an advertiser to invest in. And I guess with CTV being one, quite new, two, being bought programmatically, and three, some of the pitfalls that actually kind of come with programmatic, there can be this apprehension of when to invest, why to invest, how do I plan? And then I guess almost like how to translate that legacy linear model into CTV. Do you find that when it kind of comes to the planning, buying and activation that we're trying to retrospectively fit into, you know, these kind of, these are traditional ways, or is that not a problem?
No, that's a nuanced question, right? So many of the brand side managers managing the CTV budgets come from the linear space and know linear very well. So for them, they default to their linear learnings and how to plan and manage linear, and they try to retrofit that on CTV. Unfortunately, CTV, by nature of the transparency gaps in it, the pitfalls that you described, the fact that it is not a direct-to-publisher relationship in many situations, there's other fees and technologies in the middle. It makes it very hard to try to retrofit those linear strategies into CTV, if not impossible. I truly believe that if CTV is to reach its full potential, the best way to do it would be to buy it and plan it and think about it in many of the similar ways we do about linear. Because at the end of the day, CTV is still a TV environment, the same way as linear, and the psychological aspects that go into people watching TV still apply for CTV that they apply for linear. So it is my belief that if we could get CTV to a transparent world where we could get show level data, we could tie outcomes to show, right? That's when we'll realize the full potential of the channel. Because if you don't have transparency, then you can't plan well, and you can't optimize well, and you can't buy well.
Yeah. It feels like transparency should be a given, and we're getting in the way of our own selves and blocking that investment into what could be such a, you know, incredible opportunity to access new audiences or find, you know, the same audiences in different ways. Do you think another part of that barrier is like a knowledge gap, because you have to kind of go into understanding all the technology that fits into, you know, getting the ad in front of an individual?
We're treating, unfortunately, I feel like the stewards of the inventory on the publisher side are treating it very much the same as they treated display and online video in their past publisher roles on the digital side. And what I like to say is that we were not good stewards on that end. Look where the publishing ecosystem is today. right? Look where the open web is today. How many premium quality publishers are there at this point? And we're taking those same practices that sunk a lot of these publishers now into CTV and trying to make it the same one-to-one, chase the audience, don't worry about the content type methodology when that has not served us well in the past.
Yeah. With that in mind, is this access to kind of show level data, is that something that, because advertisers want it, why is it that we can't access it within the ecosystem easily? And is that disintermediated by the, like fast apps and other kind of aggregators of content?
So there's a few reasons for that. The primary reason every publisher will tell you is that the VPPA, which is a law in the United States, forbids you from sharing that type of content, especially when it's tied to another identifier like an IP address, because you can then theoretically figure out who is watching the content, who the person is, right?
Okay.
Now, I'm a bit skeptical if you actually can, right? But laws are laws. At the same time, this law was written in the early 90s before digital was even really a thing. And it's kind of been retroactively fitted to CTV. So it badly needs to be updated. And the only way that would happen at this point is if the right groups lobbied for that law to be updated, and ultimately it would fall on the publishers to do that. And it doesn't seem like they're in any rush to do it, which goes to the next potential reason for why they don't want to share out that data, because they don't want people cherry picking content, messing up their yield strategies, and messing up their ability to optimize for revenue and margin at the same time, right? The publishers want as much control as they could possibly have over a very finite volume of inventory, right? Like we as an industry love talking about how much time now is spent with CTV, how many people have cut the cord, and how many people are watching CTV. But what the nuance that is often lost there is how many ad-supported opportunities are there? How many people are watching ad-supported CTV, right? Realistically, I think that there isn't as much ad-supported CTV inventory, especially premium real ad-supported CTV inventory, as we would like to think there is, which is another reason for why the publishers are holding that inventory much closer to the chest. Right.
That's really interesting. So that kind of classification and exposure can lead you to, more complications than there is like revenue opportunities out there in terms of being able to monetize the inventory. Is that a problem for like the SSPs and the DSPs, like across the supply path as well?
It's a good question. For the SSPs, no, because they'll just aggregate everything they possibly can. And they don't really take put a very close eye on the quality of what they're aggregating, right? So the SSPs will always find volume when they want it. For the DSPs, the tech is a bit trickier there. And what I've experienced is that DSP algorithms in CTV are pretty dumb in that they're built to really deliver in full and optimize to where the most avails and scale is, which actually often leads to, let's just say, less than premium publishers capturing a large percentage of budget, more than they deserve, because these publishers are playing various types of games, like they're duplicating bids to fool the algorithms, to make it look like there's more scale than they really have. And when these algorithms see all this scale, even if it's not real, they're going to bid in, right? And unfortunately, it's at the expense of good publishers, premium publishers, who are not playing these games and faking their avails. So, it's a wild, wild west out there.
It sounds like it. I think it's interesting from what you read. I mean, there's so many, we can go into details all over the place. I'm just thinking the next question I think I have for you that leads in nicely is around that, as you said, duplication of availability. When you talk about CTV, like people do associate that quite frequently with a problem of fraud in programmatic. they're not one and the same, but is that something that, again, you have experienced, have a view on of how we can solve for that so that advertisers are more enticed to invest?
It's kind of a tragedy of the commons situation here because it's not technically fraud. No one, the IAB has not, or the MRC has not defined bid duplication as fraud. It's just something you can do to kind of skew the odds in your favor, so to speak. And once one entity starts doing it and winning out at the expense of others, others will follow. And then ultimately everyone's doing it. Everyone is showing unrealistic avails out there, right? And now these algorithms can't actually decision in a proper way. They're being fooled and tricked, right? So I wish something could be done about it. But ultimately, there's a lot of ad servers out there. There's a lot of SSPs and a lot of opportunities to duplicate bids. And honestly, if I was a publisher and my competition was doing it, it would be tough for me to say no because, we've got to feed the employees.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, we've gone down a rabbit hole of a few of the issues. So I think we need to come back up because there's so many opportunities for, like you said, to invest in the publishers that are getting this right, to find the audiences in new environments outside of, subscribed cord cutters, let's say. Like, what are you seeing in the market? Who's doing it really well? Where are you seeing these awesome opportunities that you're like, right, you as a brand, everyone needs to be doing this?
Okay. So what I'm actually really excited about is, well, one, in my opinion, direct IO in many situations is a more ideal way to buy CTV, especially for performance, because you get much better rates, you get guaranteed delivery, and ultimately you're cutting out all the middleman fees by and large, right? So you're able to get CTV for a much more efficient price, and from my experience, price directly correlates to performance. Most of the time, unfortunately. It's unfortunate. I wish it wasn't the case, but it seems like just getting volume out into the ether leads to more reach, leads to more conversions. It's just a natural equation. But what I'm really excited about is that the challenge historically with direct IO, especially for performance campaigns, has been, there's no performance feedback loop, right? There's no closed loop attribution there. You send your tags to the publisher. They run them. Either it works or it doesn't. If it doesn't work, then you pull budget. Ultimately, there's not much the publisher can do. A lot of the main big CTV players right now are in betas with their own conversion optimization products for direct IO.
Yeah.
So they give us a pixel, we place it on the page, and they're able to track all the various outcomes against their media. And then they're able to optimize these direct IOs on their end finally for performance. And the beauty of that is they're able to tie the performance data back to their first party audiences and to the content that is being delivered against and driving those conversions. So to me, that's another beauty of the situation here. If you're not going to share out the content data for me to optimize, right? Then let's figure out a way for you to optimize against your content, because we know that in linear content is an amazing proxy for audience, and it works. And buying specific shows that over index for your audience is the way to go. And there's nothing different about that in CTV. So if we could tie outcomes to specific shows, and if the publishers can optimize to those specific shows on their end, because ultimately they do want to perform, they want to drive performance, it's in their best interest to do that, to get more money, then maybe we haven't solved the problem 100% of the way, but we've settled on a acceptable middle ground for now, right? And what I'm seeing on my buys right now with these publishers is, by and large, the performance is really, really strong. Stronger than just the traditional, for lack of a better word, dumb random network buys that we would usually do.
That makes sense. And the quality of that insight then that you can pass back to the advertiser, I think, is something that actually in programmatic, we've always kind of lost that publisher direct advertiser relationship because of the information asymmetry, that everything's a bit siloed. So
that's a great point. So like we're getting dashboards set up for us by the publishers. We're getting really valuable types of insights, like what genres are driving the most conversions and highest conversion rates, time of day, day of the week, right? Which creative is performing best against which content. Really valuable insights that the brand specifically really appreciate. And, the challenge for me has been like, because of the transparency inherent in linear, we're able to build out some pretty detailed advanced reporting. On the CTV side, historically, it's been pretty high level tables by and large because you don't really get much data. But now with these insights the publishers are giving us, the brands are loving it because now it feels like CTV is more data driven, more informed, and they're getting more data back to be able to make decisions off of.
Yeah, I love that.
And it buys patience, right? So like, if you're getting data back and you have levers to pull and optimize, then you have next steps and things you can do to improve performance. If you don't have that and the buy isn't performing, then you're kind of stuck with your client and you don't really have much to say other than, all right, I guess we're going to pull budget, because we don't really have the necessary signals and data to be able to optimize the buy and improve it within that publisher itself.